We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. Just got off work. It is November the 15th, 6 a.m. Pretty chill night tonight. It's actually a slow night, which we got everything done. I got my whole section. But honestly, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of enjoyed it because I just got to just kind of chill and go at a slower pace, listen to some podcasts. Last week was pretty busy. We had 2 workers out for a while, so it was nice to have a chill night. And being that it is a chill night, or it was a chill night, I don't have to come in tonight. I can actually enjoy a day off, so I ain't bitching. But yeah, today we are covering Stephen King in general. I personally, I'm a Stephen King fan. I love his work. Cujo, Pet Sematary. Probably one of my most favorite movies is Christine. I love that movie. I could watch it anytime, any day. If somebody's like, hey, I want to watch Christine, I'd be like, all right, where's the pop? Good. It was it's a long book, though. I mean, it's Stephen King. That's one of those things you see in jailhouses and prisons. They always got a Bible, Harry Potter, and Stephen King books because they're just so long and consume time to read. Yeah, I ended up actually losing that book. I dated this girl, and I did a couple podcasts on talking about stories with her and shit. One of them was the biker stories episode, and then I can't remember the other episode. It was something about Me Too or something. It was a Blue Pill podcast episode. Her borrow it, and then I broke up with her, so it was yeah. It's one of those awkward situations. It's you can't just be like, hey, can I have my shit back? I was like, no, she can have it. I'll find another copy one day. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, get caught in the left and right paradigm because King is definitely one of those anti-Trumpers, and I mean, I voted for Trump, but I've reported on some of the Q stuff here and there, but I never got completely sucked into it or bought into it 100%, and I piss people off in the comment section. It's dude, I voted for Trump, but I never trusted him, and there is a lot of shit that he did that I'm like, bro, I think you're in on it, man, But, yeah, King definitely, so I wouldn't say that I trust him. I don't trust anyone as far as I could throw most people, I trust my wife, that's about it. But I don't play that left and right paradigm. But today we're covering a scene in It that's in the book that's not in the movie, and it's pretty controversial. And I would say it ties in with conspiracy if you're one that falls in line with the groups that believe that every musician or actor or writer or anyone who's a product, I guess, of what would be called maybe the Tavistock Institute, anyone who creates media in general, if you believe that they're like child predators, then you'll be gung ho on this one. I'm not automatically. I try to be a realist, and I try to be, open minded. I mean, like I've always said, I'm a very old school liberal, but even this kind of took me off guard. I was like, why is this in the book? Um, and it's not in the movie, obviously, but because they know that most Americans are ignorant and don't read and would rather sit down and eat popcorn and drink a beer and watch a movie than actually sit down and read a book for a week. I'm reading Harry Potter and I've been reading it for like several weeks now, but um, so yeah, the attention span is low. Most people have already probably clicked off of this, not realizing, oh, he's going to sit here and talk. Well, yeah, it's a podcast. That's why I don't do good on YouTube. um, but yeah, it's a weird scene, and I wanted to cover it whenever I first learned about it when they were remaking the It movie. Now I haven't seen the newest It movie. I mean, if it was on, I'd sit down and watch it. But the old movie, I remember I watched it way back in the day when I was a teenager, and I won't say who, but I was smoking weed a lot with this certain person, and she was like, man, you want to watch It? And I'm like, I've never seen it. So it's like if I remember correctly, it's like a 4 hour movie or something. It was two VHS. Yes, it was VHS. That shows my age a little bit. But it was two VHS, and I just remember like being high as a kite and her popping it in, and like, I don't know, it was like a fever dream is the only way I can explain it. Like, it's just so bizarre and weird. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I laughed, I got into it. It was an awesome movie. So I didn't really want to see the new one. I'm like, they did such a good job with the old one. What's the point in remaking it if you already knock it out of the park? It's like The Shining. They remade The Shining, and I love The Shining, and it's like, I didn't even want to watch the remake. I'm like, nah, I don't want to ruin The Shining, in my mind's eye, I guess. But yeah, we'll get into this weird scene and let me know what you guys think. Now, if you hear beeping in the background, it's because I got something in the oven, some more of that jailhouse food. uh, but yeah, let me know what you guys think of this. I may have to pause it, but I will be back. You won't even notice. How It Handles the Book's Most Controversial Scene. This is an article by Kevin P. Sullivan. See, when Stephen King's It arrives in theaters on Friday, so this is older, like I said, when they were doing the remake, and it kind of, where we got internet now, it kind of blew up, because people started rereading the original book. I've never actually read it, so I didn't even know this was in it. It wasn't in the movie, but it will refamiliarize viewers with killer clown called Pennywise, the novel's iconic antagonist, who was so memorable, brought to life by Tim Curry in the 1990 television miniseries based on King's book. See, I didn't even know it was an actual miniseries. That explains why it was so long. I just thought it was a movie. But what fans of that landmark television event won't see on screen is the novel's most controversial sequence, the climax's preteen orgy. Yeah, you heard me correctly. This is kind of crazy. Toward the end of King's book, which typically runs over 1,000 pages in print editions and switches between timelines, our heroes, the Losers Club, get lost in the Derry sewer system after defeating Pennywise, for the moment. Understanding that the group won't be able to escape without being unified, the gang's lone female member, Beverly, decides she needs to have sex with the 6 boys. So this is like underage kids. Like, this is how they defeat It in the book. I have an idea, Beverly said quietly. In the dark, Bill heard a sound he could not immediately place. A whispery little sound, but not scary. Then there was a more easily placed sound, a zipper. What? He thought, and then he realized what. He was undressing for some reason. Beverly was undressing. I don't have, like, obviously the book in front of me, but this person's summing it up. I mean, I'm sure you could find it. It was a bestseller. I'm sure most of King's stuff is. So I ain't gonna lie. I would like to pick it up from Goodwill just to like read the actual whole thing. Just like holy shit. The plan works. As soon as Beverly has finished having sex with each of her friends, one of the boys immediately remembers where the group made a wrong turn and they subsequently escape. As recent as 2013, King has commented on the scene, offering some explanation for its inclusion and expressing an understanding of how it aged. Now, before we get into what he said, Kitty. Sorry, my cat, man. I've always been the type of person who is like very anti-censorship. And I still am that way. And one thing that censorship has never gotten was like books. And actually, I think a lot of it could just be conspiracy, but I think a lot of the reason why they don't really censor books is because what I was saying earlier is most Americans are just honestly too stupid to read. If there's a movie about it, they'd rather sit down and watch the movie and not even take the time to pick up the book. But yeah, censorship never has been in books. I mean, I remember being like a teenager and buying like cheap books from Dollar General, and I have two of them. There's one called What No Roses, which is like a time traveling like romance novel, and there's another one I have called The Last Call, which is like I think they call it like splatter horror or something. But both of them, man, are like people think 50 Shades of Grey was kinky and dirty, and it's like, nah, you need to read these two. Like, there's one scene where it's a chick sucking on a mobster's toes, and there's in the other book, the Last Call one. It's like basically a strip club out in the middle of the desert, and this alien shows up, and there's one scene he's like pissing on a bunch of naked chicks, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, damn, I wasn't even expecting any of this. I was just like, oh, cool, a reptilian alien horror story and like a time traveling romance, whatever. And I don't know, it's just like I didn't even get carded for this or nothing. Like, so I mean, I'm against censorship, but it does make you question, and anyone's free to write and say whatever they want. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a work of fiction, but it does kind of make you wonder, like, why are you writing about a pedophilic, basically a gangbang on a little girl with little boys? Like, that is kind of odd. Makes me raise an eyebrow or two. But we'll get into his comments and what he says and why he did it. Sorry about that. Oven went off and I just finished eating. So if I burp or something, that's why. It's like a boneless rib thing with some peas and carrots. So it wasn't bad. It was edible, man. Let's see. So we were this is Stephen King's response. I wasn't really thinking of the sexual aspect of it. You're writing about children having a gangbang on a child female in a sewer, and you weren't thinking of the sexual aspect of it. Now here's the thing, man. With art, I do believe that most art should be uncensored, but there's such weird shit with art, and artists creep me out sometimes, especially some of them, because I do feel like with art, a lot of pedophiles and stuff kind of get into the art community. You can look this up, dude. There's a Playboy issue with a nude 12-year-old girl in it, taking a bath and full frontal, shows the vagina, shows the barely there breast. and they found a loophole to where it was artwork. I kid you not. You can look this It's a Playboy magazine. It was produced, printed, and everything. It was a spread of photos of it was an actress. I can't remember her name. If you guys know her name in the comment section, um, yeah, definitely put it out there because I can't remember. But I swear to God, look it up, man. And that's how they got away with it. It was considered art, and to me, that's not art. Like, for one, you're in a Playboy magazine, and I know Playboy's always been classy. It's like full frontal, just mostly breast, and they don't really spread their legs, but you could still see like the lips and stuff. By the way, this isn't a children's podcast, so I try, I try to let you guys know I'm a freaking pirate over here, but uh, you never know, man. But yeah, they use that loophole of it. It's just art, you know. And the same. It's been going on for hundreds of years. Look at like the Alice in Wonderland writer who used to take naked pictures of the one who Alice was based off of. I mean, the whole thing is just weird. And a lot of these artists, man, too, they give you the most artsy fartsy answer. That's what I call it. And the thing is I'm an artist. You can check out my old channel, Abe Williams. It's on YouTube. The profile pictures of Sideways Dreamcatcher. I actually put a slideshow of all the different paintings that I painted. I have a stack of poetry that's the size of a phone book upstairs, you know. I used to be a horror punk singer, you know. I used to have some vile poetry of werewolves, you know, raping virgins in the woods and shit. But you know, it's different writing. Like, I don't know, it gets into a weird place, man. Like, I try not to be a judge, but don't sit there and get all artsy fartsy with an answer like I didn't really think of the sexual aspect of it, dude. It's a child kid orgy. Like, don't play dumb. But yeah, I wasn't really thinking of the sexual aspect of it, he says. King writes in a post on his official site's message board via his office manager, Marcia De Filippo. The book dealt with childhood and adulthood, he says. 1958 and grown-ups. The grown-ups don't remember their childhood. None of us remember what we did as children. We think we do, but we don't remember it as it really happened. Intuitively, the losers knew they had to be together again. The sexual act connected childhood and adulthood. I don't know. It described it as they were preteens. I mean, and I lived in Florida, and Florida, from my sexual experiences as a preteen that I've told my wife, because she was like, here in Kentucky, man, you'd be surprised, dude. Like, I kept getting virgin chicks after my first divorce, and like one of them was an 18-year-old virgin. The one I'm with now, when we first got together, I think she was like 24, maybe 23 or 24, and she was still a virgin. I don't know if it's like a Kentucky and Florida thing, but I don't think, like, as a preteen, I mean, the only thing we were doing, not trying to be weird, was like making out, finger banging, and hand jobs, like maybe a blow job here and there. And I thought like that was pretty normal for like 12, 13, 14 year olds doing on each other. But a gangbang in a sewer, no. But even my wife is like, oh my God, you guys did that as like middle school kids and high school, like ninth grade high school kids. And it's like, yeah, is that not normal? I mean, that's Florida, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know. I digress. We'll get back into it. So yeah, what they were saying, what his excuse was, is the sexual act connected childhood and adulthood. So I mean, I guess like they said they were preteens. I don't know. You'd have to hit me up in the comments. I remember the film, they were like very, very, very young. And I mean, hell, I was scared to even touch a tit, and I actually did it and was shaking the whole time, you know. But I don't really see how that connects childhood to adulthood. Like, they're still children. It doesn't make them adults. It's another version of the glass tunnel that connects the children's library and the adult library. Huh. Times have changed since I wrote that scene, and there is now more sensitivity to those issues. Yeah, you think? I don't know though. I wouldn't say there's much sensitivity to those issues. The only ones that care about it is people who are like awake. Because if you look at the left, man, they're putting like weird pedophilia comic books in schools. Go look that shit up, dude. That shit popped up like last month. I was watching on BitChute, people reporting on it, and parents freaking out to the school board, which rightfully so. One was a comic book, like explicit too. It was like, it was all cartoon, but it was literally like a comic book in the school library of a boy who was like sucking his, like, I think he was like in Boy Scouts or something, like sucking off his scout leader, and how like it was, the boy was describing how it was all consensual and weird shit, dude. And this was in a school fucking library. Like they were at the school board with like billboards of showing the images of the comic book, and it's getting fucking weird out there. So for him to say that there's more sensitivity to those issues, I actually disagree with that. I think they're trying to make pedophilia more acceptable and more normal. I mean, hell, they're even talking about like lowering the consent age and stuff. Removed from the context of the book, the scene obviously loses some of its significance, but it's hard to deny its problematic nature. Like the TV miniseries, the new film directed by Andy Muschietti, from a script credited to the film's previous director, Cary Fukunaga, as well as Chase Palmer and Gary Doberman, skips the sequence entirely. Well, yeah, I don't think it was even in the original miniseries. I don't remember that scene at all. Once Pennywise is defeated, the losers reappear outside the tunnels in the next scene with no indication they got lost at all. Doberman, who took over the writing duties when Fukunaga left the project, spoke with EW's Clark Collis about the scene and the production's debate over whether to include it in the film. Ha! So this is his quote. Besides Georgie in the sewer, the It opening, I think it's the one scene that everybody kind of brings up, and it's such a shame, he says. While it's an important scene, it doesn't define the book in any way. I don't think, and it shouldn't. We know that the intent was of that scene and why he put it in there, and we tried to accomplish what the intent was in a different way. Dude, why are they so persistent on keeping it in there though? Like it's not, to me, I don't know. That gets into the whole artsy fartsy thing. Like, it's not needed. But this guy's like, it's a shame that we shouldn't be able to display it. No, that's like weird cutie shit. It's not necessary. It is not necessary. The original movie was perfect and fine without it. I did a review on cuties, man. Y'all need to check that out. Like, and I'm pretty open-minded, but it's not necessary. A 2014 draft supposedly written by Palmer and Fukunaga alone includes an interpretation of the sex scene, albeit a much cleaner alternative. After their climactic showdown with Pennywise, the losers are lost in the tunnels. Beverly, sensing the boys' panic, takes each of their faces into their hands, providing the light they need to come together and escape. See, there you go. You can do it symbolically. I don't see anything wrong with that. They just kind of, it sounds like they just kind of had like a cuddle moment. Like, there you go. That's how it should have been written, honestly. Not some weird fucking orgy scene out of nowhere. While the original scene has been the subject of debate ever since the book's release in 1986, it has proven an interesting experiment in adaptation. Throughout King's career, he has pushed boundaries, especially in his depiction of adolescent sexuality. I mean, Christine had sexuality, but at least with that, they were all teenagers, so it was underage drinking, underage smoking weed, underage doing cocaine, underage smoking cigarettes, underage fucking. But I mean, that's as weird as it sounds. Like, that's what I did in high school. I think that's what 95% of most people did in high school was have sex, do drugs, you know. That's different, but these are like legit preteens. And the fact that the two produced adaptations of it have avoided the book's most challenging scene entirely is telling about the respective mediums and what happens when words on the page become light and sound. Yeah. I don't really think. Yeah, that's about it as far as like that scene that I wanted to cover. I do have some time, and I have an extensive library upstairs. And while we're reporting on Stephen King, I did want to get into a little more of a little palate cleanser on that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys think I was out of place anywhere? I think I had a pretty open mind about it. I'm a very artistic person. I'm cool with art and stuff, but it does raise eyebrows. I'm not accusing King of anything. It's just odd. It is one of those things like, okay, if King was like a family member and he's like, hey, brother, if let's say it was my brother, the uncle of my child, and he wrote that weird shit, I would probably, I don't think I'd let him be alone with my child. I would be like, hey, that's fucking weird, bro. You know, that would be like if you, let's let's say like if you found, you know, CP on your brother's computer while you were using it, borrowing their computer for a second, you know, and you found that on their computer, would you let your child alone with, you know, them? I don't know, it's just it is weird, you know. It's like, what do you do? Like, if I read my brother's book and that scene was in it, I don't know if I would want them alone with my child. Maybe I'm just being over dramatic. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, we'll. I wanted we're gonna get into the Stanley Hotel. I wanted to cover that just as a little bonus today, a little palate cleanser, and it's short. It's nothing huge, but I was like, man, I can't make a whole episode out of this. But I got an extensive library upstairs, and I have some of Amy Bruni and Adam Berry's, like some of their ghost accounts of like personal accounts in certain ghost hunting places. They're famous ghost hunters on the Travel Channel from Kindred Spirits. So I wanted to hear what they experienced in the Stanley Hotel, which is the Shining Hotel from the Shining movie, which I'm a huge fan of. So we'll get into that. All right, so let's do like a little small overview of the Stanley Hotel. Supernatural activity abounds at the sprawling resort that inspired Stephen King's The Shining. Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado opened its doors in 1909 as a grand colonial revival style property. Wealthy entrepreneur Freeland O. Stanley spared no expense in constructing his namesake resort, and it showed. Opulent in every fashion, the 140-room hotel attracted the elite and influential. Even President Theodore Roosevelt stayed there. But by the time novelist Stephen King and his wife Tabitha checked into the Stanley back in 1974, it was a shell of its former self. As the only paying guest, the hotel was about to close for the winter. The Kings checked into the presidential suite, room 217. That night, the author dreamed that a predatory force was chasing his young son down the hotel's corridors, and the seeds for and the seeds for his fourth novel, The Shining, were planted. The Stanley served as the inspiration for the book's Overlook Hotel, a snowbound site where spirits from the past drive winter caretaker Jack Torrance to madness. Like its fictional counterpart, The Stanley is not without phantoms of its own. Apparitions of both Freeland and his wife Flora have been spotted on the grounds. In fact, according to Amy Bruni and Adam Berry, it's hard to stay at the Stanley without encountering some sort of supernatural phenomenon. The ghosts are simply part of the experience. It's no wonder the property, which now sits on the National Register of Historical Places, routinely tops the nation's most haunted list. Now, this is kind of transcribed slightly in a interview sort of way, but this is Amy Bruni and Adam Berry's personal experiences at the Stanley Hotel. We've investigated the Stanley, and this is Amy Bruni. We've investigated the Stanley Hotel many times. Unfortunately, they backed away from letting investigators on the site. Before that, I investigated for nearly 10 years in a row and had many experiences over the years. There was one room, 401. We were in there investigating, and the drawers kept sliding open on their own. Someone knocked on the door at one point, and we ran to get it, and no one was there, and no one was in the hallway. Now this is Adam Berry. I stayed there at one time, and I felt really uneasy in that room that I was in, so much so that I kept the TV on. I would go to sleep when it was light out. We were investigating at night anyway. We were staying up late, so I just waited for the light to peek over the mountain to go to sleep. At one point, I heard kids playing in the hallway on the 4th floor, and I opened the door and nobody was there. Things would go missing or move around in my room. My mother has this superstition. She said, "If you feel like somebody is in your room, take your shoes and turn them opposite way to each other, heel to toe, toe to heel, and to put them at the end of your bed, and it'll keep anything away." Now, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of wonder if that would actually work, kind of like a ghost repellent. I did that, and my shoes ended up under the middle of my bed. Okay, never mind. They had been pushed all the way under the bed. Now, Amy Bruni says, "There was a time when I was investigating the carriage house. We were all sitting still, and suddenly we heard footsteps run across the dirt floor and stop right in front of us. You could feel someone standing there. It was so loud. You could hear those footsteps. We actually had them recorded. We were able to capture those on video at the time." Adam Berry says about the Stanley, "We went back a few months later, and I was investigating with a group of people. We were communicating with someone who could literally answer questions about my routine of the day." By the way, when they say someone, they mean a spirit. They refer to them. They're very respectful. I've covered that Amy Bruni and Adam Berry before, and they treat them as people still. So let's see. I asked yes or no questions like, did I leave the TV on all the time? They would say yes. Somebody was there watching what I was doing and interacting with me. I asked questions that nobody in the group would know, only me, and it would answer them spot on, exactly. Amy Bruni says, "We were in the administration building where everybody works. We were all sitting there around this table, and it literally lifted up off the ground a good inch or two and then fell back down. And this was a heavy, heavy table. There was another point where people were investigating the theater area. Man, something about theaters, they're always freaking haunted, dude. I ain't gonna lie, have you ever forgotten something in a movie theater and then have to run back in and go grab it and no one's in there and it just feels creepy? But I digress. This actually got caught on film. There were stacks of chairs, and a chair leapt off and flipped over and crashed to the ground. Adam Berry says, we've also had doors slam right in front of us on command. Apparitions have been seen in the balcony area. You can hear people walking around. It might be a janitor, or it might be the ghost they call Lucy. The thing to remember about the Stanley is that it is old. It was history. There have been tons of people in and out of that place. Amy Bruni says, hotels tend to be haunted because so many people go in and out. And over the years, things happen there. People pass away. Also, some people believe that a hotel might have a lot of really precious memories for someone. And they might be returning because they have such a strong emotional attachment to it. People always ask, where would I haunt if I were a ghost? And I usually say the Stanley because it's beautiful. There's a spa, there's a wine bar. Of course I would haunt it. Adam Berry says, if you've got a choice to go back to any point in your life, you'd go back to the happiest times. We've seen spirits do that kind of thing. Whether it's a schoolhouse or a home or a hotel, I'm going to Disney personally. Amy says, yeah, me too. Adam responds, we're haunting the haunted mansion for real. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed. I had planned on doing the Stanley Hotel more in depth, but that's all the info I have on it. Like I said, I have a huge library upstairs. I just find things here and there that don't make a full episode, and I wanted to cover the whole It controversy when I first heard about it, but covering it now. If you knew about it, okay, cool. If you stayed tuned till the end, I appreciate it. If you want to check us out in a video format, if you want to put faces to a voice, you can check us out on YouTube. We're somewhat on BitChute. It's hard to upload there. Honestly, we've just kind of gave up on it. Breaker, YouTube. We are Conspiracy Corner Podcast on YouTube. The profile picture is a samurai bunny rabbit. If you want to listen to us on audio form, which you're welcome to do because it does save your phone battery if you're at work because the screen goes black, you can find us on Breaker, Google Podcast, Radio Public, Spotify, Anchor, and yeah, that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed. Hit me up in the comments, if it doesn't get blocked as spam, I'll respond. Please like, share, and subscribe, and adios.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.